class. Today we're going to talk about inequality, because we really realized that we were digging into inequality and equity last class, and it wasn't clear, how to think about it, and it's just like, hey, let's do a class on this. And so Lori is going to be here on Thursday, and we're going to do a class on inequity, but today we're going to focus on inequality, okay? And we gave it this title. I don't know, just feels like, it feels like a good title. Okay, go to the next slide. This is the way I would, when you think about inequality and you think about inequity, there are a lot of different ways to talk about it, to think about it, but this is how we're going to do it in here. So inequality, we're talking about the distribution of resources, opportunities, abilities, whatever it is, how they're distributed. And things are never distributed. Once the group gets to a certain size, it's never equal. I mean, that's just the nature of life itself. And equity, we're talking about the fairness. Everyone is pursuing resources, okay? We're trying to get resources. We're trying to have opportunities. We're trying to develop our abilities. That's why you're all here. This is a resource. Education is a resource. And when we talk about equity or inequity, it's the degree of fairness that kind of in the pursuit, or that shapes the pursuit of those resources, right? So if we talk about equity or inequity, it's like how the four of you, to what degree do you all have a fair or unfair shot to, get your college degree, to pay for your college degree, to get a job, all these things. That's when we talk about, we move in the field of equity and inequity when we talk about fairness. But today we're going to really focus on equality and inequality, okay? Just what the resources look like, okay? So let's start with you. You can introduce yourselves.
Hello everyone, my name is Afonso. I'm from Portugal. I'm a junior and I'm also a transfer student.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm a third-year architectural engineering student, and I'm from a pretty rural area in Maryland.
In where, Maryland? Yeah. How rural? Like how do you live in a town, or do you?
I live in a town, but my graduating class was like 150, so 150? It's relatively small.
Yeah.
A lot
and
of
it probably
farmland.
People came from far away. Yeah. Okay. All right.
My name's Laura. I'm a first year and I'm from Jersey.
Hi guys, my name is Aryan and I'm from India. I'm in SMEAL, third year, majoring in MIS, that's Management Information Systems.
Okay, all right. And Laura, are you undeclared?
I'm in finance.
In finance? Okay. Oh my God, this is perfect. Then I have a question for you. So, not yet though. Can you go to the next slide? All right, so take a look at these numbers, and you all can, if you have pretty good eyesight, you can just see it on that screen in the back. So the question, this is wealth, okay? Family wealth, household wealth, and I really should say household wealth, not family wealth, right? So wealth is, can one of you just say what wealth is? What do you think wealth is? Laura, you're in finance, man. You should be getting this in your first year seminar. Bro, you got it?
Health is wealth.
No, all right, hang on. All right, I'll help you out. Well, that's true, especially when you get to my age, man. Okay, so look, if you add up all of your resources, and including kind of your major hard resources, a lot of times we can include our cars, or if we have an RV or something that's kind of a major purchase. But it could be, the value of paintings we have, or really expensive jewelry, but generally we're not into things for small amounts of money, okay? We add all that up. And if we have a house and we have a mortgage on the house, and we have, we've paid off $100,000, but the bank owns our house is $400,000. That's the value, and the bank owns $300,000 of that, and we own $100,000 of that. We don't own a $400,000 house. We co-own that house with the bank. So only $100,000 of that would get included in our wealth. Okay, so you add up all your wealth, everything you have, you subtract your debt. Okay, that's your net wealth. So when we talk about median family wealth here, we take all the wealth in the United States, okay, every bit of it, and we add it all up to the trillions of dollars, and we divide by the number of households. And we say, okay, that's the total wealth in the United States. But then we start dividing those households up, we group them together. So we have the white households, the Asian households, and, usually in the U.S., we just put together East Asian and South Asian, so, multi-ethnic, Hispanic, Black, Native American, okay? And by the way, what that Native American is, it's really hard to assess wealth for American Indians because you have people who live on the res, people who live off the res, people who identify as Native American, including people in this class who it's like, but are you Native? Like, what do you really need to, are you Native according to tribes? Do the tribal councils count you as Native? So if you were to say, yeah, I'm like 50% Chippewa or Algonquin, it's like, well, does the Algonquin tribe accept that, or are you just saying that? And so it's really tough to get a measure of that. But at least on the res, Native peoples, Native Americans, earn 8 cents to the dollar of white households. Okay? So you can imagine American Indians are on the bottom. All right? I can't give it a number, though. All right. That's wealth. And also, the other thing I want to say as we have this conversation today, it's really important that all of us remember that even though we're putting numbers up like this, so we say like, oh, look at black households compared to Asian households, okay? That doesn't mean that black people are poor. There are many, many wealthy black people, and there are many poor Asians, and there are many rich Hispanics and poor Hispanics, many poor white people. Okay, so you got to hold that. Like, it's really important as we have this conversation to remember that, okay? All right, man. So here's my first question. How do you make sense of these numbers? When you see those numbers, how do you make sense of it? Like, what's it mean to you? Let's just have a conversation. Who wants to go? Ella? Nah, you don't want to go yet. Alfonso. Afonso.
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 So these numbers are according like some statistics that also because also because it's just normal. The US is a country that was like found by other countries, like other people from other countries came to the US, and most of all were white people from the Europe, and then the other races like Asian arrived and other races arrived, and they start working and everything, and since the beginning the white people are like the ones that have most money, most possibilities to buy things and everything, but that doesn't matter, like, because like you said, there is people that can be white and have a lot of money, but other people that are poor.
So we're Portuguese. You're Portuguese. Yeah. So you lived in Portugal until you were, what, 17?
Yeah, I lived in Portugal until 17. Then 2 years ago, I came here to the US to study.
And where are the Portuguese on this? Like, you all would, yeah, where's Portugal on this?
On
in terms of wealth.
I would say between white and multi-ethnic.
Yeah. If you, the average Portuguese American
Yeah.
household.
It's not that much, like, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here, like, because
Hang
And
on,
mi-
we're going to go to that.
but the
Yeah.
minimum wage is not that
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Somebody else, how do you look at these numbers? Just tell a story about these numbers, any story.
Personally, I think, crunching these numbers, I see Asians like their median family wealth is a lot, but that can be depending on many factors, especially Asia is a big continent.
Hey, by the way, okay, hang on. I need to say one thing. There's a difference between median and mean, okay? Median means we add up all the wealth. So I actually said it wrong last time because what I gave you was the mean. The mean is we add up all the wealth and we divide by the number of households, okay? And that's spread out. The median is we take those households and we rank them from the wealthiest households to the poorest households, and we grab the one right in the center. And so everything right, so what's right in the center is the median. Okay, the mean family income wealth, mean family wealth is much higher, because what that does is, because here in the US we've got billionaires and billionaires and billionaires, and they really skew that number. But the median number, it comes down, you see, so it's this is the median number. All right, so go ahead. Like, how do you explain that?
Explain like why Asians are like their median family wealth is a lot.
Yeah, like, but not just Asians, but everybody. When you look at that, right? So here's the thing. People see these kinds of numbers all the time. And we're expected to make sense of these numbers. And we look at them and say, like, oh, okay, it means something, right? But nobody ever tells us what it means. So we're going to have the conversation today about, well, we could write 20 books on this. Hundreds and hundreds of books have been written on things like this just in the past year. But we're just going to give it a shot. So where do you dive in? Like, what stands out in these numbers for you? And then Laura and Ella, you're next. So, Aryan, what stands out in those numbers?
The fact that American Indians are not stated, actually, because a lot of American Indians, actually, it depends, the people who actually settled here, born here, right, they might technically go in or out of the pool of Asians.
Okay. So
Yeah,
they're
so-
the original inhabitants of this land.
Right.
And at some point in time, like Alphonse said, how'd I do? Alphonse? Good? All right, Ma. Because I keep wanting to put an L in there. And the O at the end, it's like, you know, Portuguese, you have these things. You just make life complicated. You know what I mean? For everybody except you all. So that's like what's really unique about your language. So listen. Okay, that's one. Native Americans. All right. Something else? Ella, how about you? What stands out on that? By the way, none of you can say anything racist or ignorant here. Like, it's just jump in. Like, what stands out on that? Do you have nothing? Or do you have something and you just don't want to say it? Or are you like, really don't have something? Talking to the mic.
I'm still just, I don't know. I'm just trying to process
Well, look at,
it.
how about this one? Let me just start you right here. What do you make of the black number being almost 1/10 of the white number? What do you have there? What, as a white person, right? What story have you learned? Let's say.
I don't know if it's just because of the area I'm from, but I think I'm a little bit surprised that it is that low.
Uh-huh. So say more about that.
In general, in my area, everybody is kind of like, to my knowledge, most people are middle class,
Uh-huh.
no matter what their race is.
Uh-huh.
So that number, I just thought it might be higher than
Okay,
that.
so that stands out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that, given what you've seen.
Correct.
What you see
yeah.
around you. Okay, that's cool. How about Asians? Does that strike you that number is so high? Like, are the Asians in your area or what you've known or people you've met, does that strike you as kind of, like stand out?
I don't think I really have an opinion on that one, just because there aren't many Asian people from my hometown.
Okay, all right. So that's a surprise too, in that case, right? I mean, that's new information for you. Okay. Laura, how about you?
Honestly, the numbers don't really surprise me.
How's that?
The only thing that surprises me personally is for Hispanics, because I know what my family makes in their income, and it's nowhere near that. So everything else pretty solid.
So what story do you tell yourself about then, like those numbers? Like when you see them, I'm asking you, like, okay, well, say something about them. What do you want to, what would you say?
That in my town, a lot of people make those numbers. When you look at the race and know them, they do make that type of income.
So
depending on the race.
so you see Asians as being particularly
More wealthy, yeah.
more wealthy in their households, and white people,
Yeah.
and black and Hispanic people are
More lower.
more lower. And
Yeah.
what story do you tell yourself on that?
What do you mean?
Yeah, like what do you say about that? Like, oh God.
I say it's unfortunate that with Hispanics and blacks we're still not progressing as much as we should be.
Progressing as much as you should be. Okay. Yeah, I think and what would you say, Ella, can I ask you, what explains the differences in the numbers? Because this is what this is about, right? In the end, when we see numbers like this, you got it. What we're fighting about here, all of these battles that we have, and when you compare, MSNBC to Fox News to CNN to whatever it is, and people are talking about inequality, they're fighting over these numbers like that, okay? And so what explains these differences? As far as you know, as far as you see. Do you have one?
I feel like there's probably more than one reason behind those numbers. I think raises and salary probably have to do with it. It could be people who are coming here from other countries might not come over with much, which could contribute to where the median lands.
Okay. Or some don't come over with much, but other people come over with a lot.
Yeah.
Like this guy, his folks. You know what I mean? And Alphonse, a little bit more. What for you? What explains these numbers? You said a little bit about the history and.
Yeah. Also, I believe some people they grow in not good areas at all, and their job is also not the best probably, and that reflects why Hispanic and black people have these values, and also is just opportunities. This country is a country of a lot of opportunities, but not everyone knows how to keep that opportunity, because sometimes it's difficult to grow in the society.
Okay.
And
here, go to the next slide. So here, look at this. Let's go. You sort of open this up a little bit, right? Personal decisions and or structural and historical factors. Okay. So how are these two related? You were talking about it. So now just say it what you just said again. So here, this is it. All of the causal explanations that we could bring to this, they're going to fall into those that we would talk about as personal decisions, okay? All of them, they go together, and or all of those that are structural and historical factors over here, okay? So give me an example of personal decisions, somebody.
For example, you can decide if you go to school and have good grades or just skip school and not have good grades.
Okay.
That's one example that some people can grow in the society by just going to school, trying to have good grades,
Okay.
trying to have a scholarship to go to university.
Okay, another one. Give me another one. No, go ahead.
Like save a part of your paycheck instead of wasting all of it.
Saving your paycheck instead of wasting all of it. Okay, got you. Yep.
I'd say personal decision can be like getting a high school diploma or a college degree, something like that. Like depends on person to person. As you were speaking about Asian median wealth, and I know like the difference between mean and median, but I would say it ultimately like boils down to your maybe family decisions also.
Okay.
So something like kind of hard to say, but like something like if I'm an international student and tomorrow I come up to my parents and kind of say that I want to do golf management or something like that. So they'll
And then
just
what would your parents say?
don't really know about it, but they'll be like disappointed.
Okay, so personal decisions, right? Like it's
Yeah.
also part of that. There's a personal decision in there. They could decide, hey, let's support Aryan.
Yeah, they'll support me, but then eventually I don't think so. I'll be coming abroad and I'll just make a rational decision.
Okay, good. Somebody else. Ella, how about you? What's an example of personal decision that impacts inequality? Anything at all. How about you? What are you doing? What are you doing here? What are you studying?
Architectural engineering.
Okay, so personal decision. Why that?
Because it's like a steady job. There's,
Okay.
a good market for it.
Okay, so you made a personal decision to get a steady job.
But
Did
I
you
feel
like
education is a personal decision to an extent, but not everybody has the funds
Okay,
to
well
like,
hang on.
get a
Hang
higher
on. That's
education.
another thing, okay? How about this? Do you smoke weed?
No.
Have you done like smoke crack or anything like that?
No.
Oh, dude, you're missing out. Like, come on. All right. So how's that? Is that a personal decision?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. How about what else?
I guess drinking.
Okay, studying for your exams.
Yeah.
You see, everything's a personal decision, right? You're here. Do you come to class? Do you go to most of your classes?
Yes.
Okay, personal decisions, right? Do you have a savings account?
Yeah.
You have a credit card?
No.
Okay. Do you have a credit card?
Yeah.
Are you maxed out on your credit card?
No.
You have a credit card, bro?
Yes, I have a credit card.
Okay, you maxed out on it?
No.
Okay, all right, good. Everything is, but their personal decisions are in play at every single moment. No matter what you do, no matter what choice you make about anything at all related to, remember, resources, accumulation of skills, whatever it is, whatever allows you to accumulate more, every decision you make, you could make a different decision. That's personal decisions, okay? Now, give me an example of a structural factor that impacts inequality. Ella, we're going to go to you. How many people in your high school smoke crack?
I don't think any.
Okay, why not?
I don't even know if they could get it if they wanted it.
Okay, all right, there you go. Structural factor, right? See, it's like things, structural factors are things that in part are outside of our control that we don't even see and we don't really understand. How about this? How many kids in your high school dropped out?
I don't think any.
Okay, why not?
I don't know.
So, well, what do you think?
I think most people just wanted their education.
Why do they want that?
I don't know, the alternative is like you have to go get a job.
No, it's not. The alternative is awesome for many, many people. Many kids in the United States drop out of school. Many people. They drop out of high school, and whatever. That's an alternative to. There are high schools in the U.S. where more than half of the kids who start in the high school don't graduate.
Do they get like a GED?
Yeah,
or
some
are
of
they
them
just dropping
do.
out?
Some of them just drop out. Some later get a GED. So why do they drop out? Why do less than half of the kids who start the high school actually graduate? Why do you think?
Maybe they don't want to go to school. Maybe they can't like commute to school.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. Why? What else? Why else do they drop out? Just keep going. The list, we could come up with 1,000 things.
Maybe they need to like get a job to support themselves or their families.
Okay, got it. Okay, you're going. Now you're on a roll. Keep going, right? What else?
Maybe they created something that they think is of higher value than spending it on their student loans or something.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to save up money to buy crack or something. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Maybe we'll never know.
Maybe they start a job. Maybe their parents, when they say, if you would have dropped out of high school, you'd call your parents and said, like, hey, I'm dropping out of high school. What would they have said?
All right, dig a grave or something.
No, what would they have said? Would they have said, okay, whatever?
I don't know, like, they'll be disappointed again.
Dude, how disappointed, man.
Very.
You'd have been kicked out of your whole family. Like, think about this. Like, what would they have done? They would have come down. They would have dropped the hammer on you. Man.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of me.
Okay, all right. Okay, now we're talking, right? Okay, so imagine the high school where less than half of the kids graduate, and how many of them have parents who do you think would beat the shit out of them?
I guess like 70%.
Well, you don't know, but it would be a lot less than where you went to high school. Wait, yo, hang on. It would have been a lot less where you went to high school, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Laura, how about you? Give me some structural factors. Structural or historical?
I don't know.
Well, come on, like, what's the world, explain, can you go back one? Go back, take the slide back. Look at those numbers. Explain, why is it so low for Hispanics? You're Dominican, right?
Because we don't really push ourselves or like Hispanics.
Structural factors. What's the history of the Dominican Republic?
We're like really poor.
Yeah, why are you really poor?
Shit, I really don't know.
You don't know? Yeah? Do you have any idea why the DR is really poor? See, like, if you don't study, okay, listen. Did you hear what she said? Yo, did you hear what she said? The first thing she said when I said, why are the Dominican numbers so low? She said, we don't push ourselves. Like, wait, hang on a second. You went back, go to the next slide. You went back to personal decisions, right? Like, and we're talking about structural and historical factors. I ask her, she's Dominicana. She's Dominican. I say, tell me the history of your country. What do you know? You got to give me something. Bro, hang on one sec, all right? So you give me something, and you said you're 18 years old, right? You don't have to know about the DR, right?
Yeah.
But, okay, but people expect you to at some level, okay? And I say, why are you so poor? Why is the country so poor? We don't push ourselves. I'm like, dude, look, so first off, my area of study and for my PhD, master's and PhD program is Latin American studies. So I'm what's considered to be a Latin Americanist, okay? So, and then secondarily, Africa, okay? So Latin America and then Africa. So if I gave you a book about the history of the Dominican Republic, and you read this book, and you would read the book going, oh my God. You'd see this history and these structural factors, and you'd see the way that the Dominican Republic got played by mostly the United States. First the Spaniards and the Portuguese, less the Portuguese, because you all just took Brazil. or were given Brazil. And then you spent all the money on gold, bro. If you hadn't spent all the money on gold, you'd be like Belgium today. But like, you're Portugal because you got all this gold everywhere, but you didn't invest it. Okay? So listen. But you would read the history and you'd say, whoa, hang on a second. We don't push ourselves as one piece of it, but there's this whole other piece that is much more difficult to access because you got to study it. And that's harder. And that's why it's a lot easier to go to personal decisions, structural and historical factors. Dude. Yeah. Okay? Give me another No. Wait, this guy, do you have a question? All right, hang on. Yeah. All right, you ready? Give me another one. Structural factors. Inequality. Can you go back one slide? Dude, look at these numbers. Just look at black people, man. All I've really gotten from you thus far, look at American Indians. All we really got from you thus far is, well, American Indians, black people, Hispanics need to push themselves a little harder. What else is going on that can make sense of those numbers? How about the Asian numbers? Why are the Asian numbers so high? Do you know why they're so high?
If you're going back in history, I can just tell you about India.
No, just go here in the United States. Do you know why Asians make so much money here in the United States?
Yeah, because they pushed themselves.
Nah, dude, they push themselves. That's the one thing. It's the structural piece. The sociology is the structural piece. Because the Asians who are coming here, the very high rates of Asian in-migration into the United States first included East Asians, and then secondarily, most recently, included South Asians. So it's Indians, Sri Lankans, Pakistanis, but less Pakistani. Pakistanis, okay? Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Bangladesh is pretty poor, right?
Yeah.
Really poor?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you think people from Bangladesh are here in the United States? Who comes to the United States from Bangladesh? The poorest of the poor? Okay, who comes here from Bangladesh?
I guess the privileged ones.
Definitely. Same with Indians. Had anyone gone through a phone book recently and looked at doctors in your local clinics and look at how many of them have Indian names? Do you think you're coming here for that purpose? Yeah. So there's a whole structural series of factors. Like recently, immigration shifted, and certain Indians are coming here. They make more money. They have more money. They're better able to move forward in lots of ways. And so they look at the average household income. It's huge. It's much higher. That's a structural thing. And in part, that's because the United States, are you ready? We don't really want poor people here. Nobody really wants poor people. We'll take poor people. Every country will take some poor people because you have to. But every country would rather have rich immigrants than poor immigrants. And so, yeah, you take the wealthy folks. You want that. Same with Dominicans, by the way. All right, bro. Did you have a question? No, the dude up there. Yeah. All right. Okay, so structural. Do you see? Tell me why you need to study the Dominican Republic, the history. You put it in your words.
I need to study it?
Yeah, in order to understand poverty in the Dominican Republic, you got to study the history. Put it into your words.
I need to study the Dominican Republic because I'm Dominican, and a lot of people do ask about that. And I know some history, but I don't know.
But is it just not really that important to you?
Not really.
To be able to answer the question.
Oh.
If I say, well, hey, what's up with the DR, man? I went to the DR. Haiti's a lot poorer, but the DR is pretty poor. If you only go down to the DR and you stay in the resorts, you think this place is pretty rich. But you go inland a little bit. Do you want to answer that question? Would you like to be able to answer that question?
Yeah, I would like to, and I kind of it's because I I know some history because of the Haitians
Yeah.
coming to the Dominican Republic, so that's like they're making us look a lot more poor than we are, and that's why there's like beef between Haiti and the Dominican Republic.
Okay. Okay.
And that's like part of the reason why where my family grew up, it's like
Okay.
really trashed because of the
Okay.
Haitians.
Okay.
But
So you have a whole different series of stories, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you won't understand it if you don't look at it.
yeah,
The easiest thing to do is look at someone and say, oh, that person works really hard. The more difficult thing to do is when I asked Ella about her school, it's a very simple question. Why don't kids at your school smoke crack? Why aren't they doing meth? Why aren't they dropping out of school? It's like, those are the sociological questions. So, and you can say, oh, because I guess they don't want to. I'm like, well, why aren't they doing it there? But I can go to a school 40 miles away and half the kids are dropping out. What's the difference? What's going on? See, this is inequality. This is the stuff. If you're not looking at those things, then you can't really understand it. All right, bro.
So I'm going back to like the historical, structural, and then my community type of thing. So you got to think back to when America was formed. It was
Yeah.
formed by white people, and they had slavery back then. So
Yeah.
and up until like the 1800s, right? So you have to think that white people had a better standing off than other races in America.
Yeah.
And then the continuation of discrimination within America after slavery, affecting those incomes of other races.
Okay.
So you have to think that, and then also.
Okay, let me just stay right there. Okay, so who's a? I'm going to take this off of you for a second. You were a finance major, right? Someone who's a finance major. Right? Can you? Take the microphone. Who's a finance major? Like, you're a finance major? Can you take it to her? Right up. Yep. All right, get ready. This is a big question.
Raise your hand.
No, you got it.
I'm a sophomore.
Oh, that's
so
all right. That's
not
all right.
yet.
That's okay. Okay, go to the next slide. Explain that.
Well, if you start off, like if you have $5 today, invest it today, then in a couple of years it'll be a couple months, couple of years it'll be $30 and then $1 million
Okay.
interest. Like
Okay, you're good. Dude, you got it. but that's $5, okay? What's the 1M is $1 million.
yeah.
What's the 30?
You
said invest $5 per day. What's the 30?
30K?
No.
30.
No. What's it represent? What do you think? What's the miracle of compound interest?
Like that $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow?
No. Well, yeah, but it's that if you invest your money and you count in an interest-bearing account, okay, and the interest is high enough, well, whatever the interest is, if you compound it over time, so my money tomorrow is worth a little bit more than it is today, okay? And then the next day it's worth a little bit more that day, and you keep doing that, you compound it over time. Over time, with enough time.
Yeah, because you invested it today, so it's worth more today.
Exactly. And if you invested it 30 years ago?
It would be worth more 30 years ago.
It would be worth more than it would 30 years ago. It would be worth a lot of money, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so listen. So what these numbers are $5 a day. Hey, everybody in the classroom, remember what I'm about to tell you right now. And when you're old like me, you will think back to that old dude in Social 119 who gave you something. And if you follow me, you're going to be really, really happy. $5 a day times 30 years is $1 million. At a high yield, growth account. Not super high, 8% interest. That's not super high. That means I look around. Hang on. How much did you spend on that? $10? What do you think it was? Yeah, okay, campus cash, and you don't even know. Definitely it was more than $5. So if you did that every day, you save $5, you put it away in in 30 years, it's $1 million. That's pretty simple math. It's very simple, right? Okay, it's a lot, the miracle of, it's not just simple, actually, it's a miracle. It's the 8th wonder of the world, compound interest. It's like, holy shit, like, damn, seriously? $5 a day for 30 years will be $1 million? That's a miracle. Okay, now, you ready? Go to the next slide. Wait, does someone have a question? No, all right, come down. Dude, go to the next slide. What are those numbers in 2050? What are they going to be? Aryan, there you go. What's the numbers in 2050?
I don't know, man. I'm not a calculator.
No, but what do you think they're going to be? What do you think they're going to be? They're going to be higher? They're going to be lower?
Obviously higher.
Whose numbers are going to be the highest?
Asian, for real.
For sure?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I saw a data table like for 2010, and Asians were still at the top.
Okay.
So I think I'm not assuming, I'm pretty sure like Asians will be.
So, Laura, who's going to be at the bottom?
Black people.
Or American Indians.
Yeah.
And then above them are going to be?
Hispanics.
So black people, then Hispanics, and then Ella, who's going to be above Hispanics when we do those numbers in 2050? We're back here. I'm still teaching this class. Some of you have by now spent 25 years saving $5 a day. So, you're not going to see it. It's not going to look like $1 million because that all happens in the last couple of years. It's like doubling, right? So, what am I going to be saying in 2050 to my class? What are we going to be talking about? The same thing?
Probably, yeah.
And what are people going to be arguing about? What do you think? What's your sense?
Inequality.
Yeah. What are black people, Hispanic people, and American Indians going to be talking about in 2050?
Inequality?
Yeah. What are they going to be saying? Alphonse, what are they going to be saying?
They are going to say the same thing that they say right now.
Okay.
But I believe that the order is going to stay the same. The Asian and the white people are going to have the biggest money.
Okay.
But also I believe we are going to have the black and Hispanic people are going to improve a lot.
Okay.
And the difference between right now is not going to be the same in 2050.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different, but
Yeah.
mostly we're going to see it. And in black and Hispanic people and Native Americans, Laura, what are they going to say about inequality?
That they don't get paid enough.
And what else? That they got a fair shake, that
Yeah.
you know what they're going to say? You know
What?
what Dominicans are going to say?
What?
They're going to say, hey, if you really want to understand why we're so poor compared to white people and Asian people, right? You got to read history. You got to see how it was back in the 19th century, the 18th century, then the 19th century, and then the early part of the 20th century, what happened to the Dominican Republic. And then you got to see what happened in 2021. And then you got to see you got to look at the white advantage, and you got to look at the Asian advantage, why Asians are so high. And you got to look at that. But people aren't going to look at it. You know what they're going to say in 2050? What are they going to say? Why are Hispanics so poor? What are they going to say in 2050? Go ahead, you know.
That they don't get paid enough?
No. No.
We don't know the history, or they don't know
No. They need to work.
because what's it called? We don't push ourselves.
You
hard
don't
enough,
push
yeah.
you don't push yourselves. They're going in 2050 they're going to be saying the same damn thing. Cuz that's the one thing that people are going to look at. It's going to be the personal stuff. Go back to that slide with personal and structural. They're going to one more. Yeah. They're going to focus on personal decisions. They're going to focus here. And I'm going to say, "Wait, hang on a second though. Go back to go ahead 2 slides. Okay. Keep going forward. Forward. Right there, back. Yeah, right there. And I'm going to say, wait a second. Wait. The miracle of compound interest is operating also right here. If you get a head start, then you're going to do pretty well. If you're all basically equal, okay? If you're all basically equal, and there's not much indication to assess. There's some differences in culture and so on, right? Like, for example, like some Dominican families would be, you ready? If I go to school with just like a lot of poor Dominicans, there's going to be more families that would be okay if Laura, if you were in one of those. There are going to be more, disproportionately speaking, that would be okay if you dropped out. If it's middle and upper middle class Dominican families, you're not going to drop out.
My parents would kill me.
Yeah, okay, they'd kill you. So it's going to be the same with you. Wouldn't matter. We can compare the schools, okay? Same. All right? But wow, how is that? To me, it's not even rocket science. It's sort of basic. So here, do you ever notice you ever like, hang on, can I sit up here? Well, I'll squeeze in. All right, listen, I want to talk to the stream for a second, okay? Those of you who lean more conservative, okay, who are more likely to say, hey, people have to take responsibility for themselves, okay? We've all agreed that that's true, right? You got to take responsibility. Like if you want to drop out, it's like, well, I can't tell you to drop out. If you want to start smoking crack, bro, I can't tell you to start smoking crack.
It's my decision.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, you're going to make a decision. I'm not going to like hold the pipe up. All right, dude, here it is, man. You ready? I'm going to light that dog up. You're going to do it. You can not even inhale. It's fine. It's all good. Okay? So what's that?
What about peer pressure?
Yeah, peer pressure. Okay, I got it. So you're around peers who would pressure you to do that. You weren't. There's a structural thing there. Okay? So look, those of you who think personal responsibility is important, you're on point. We all agree that it is, right? We all agree? It is? Absolutely it is. It's half of it. It's half of it. No matter what happens, you got to take responsibility. But there's this other thing here that requires some kind of analysis that we're never really going to fully understand. These numbers right here, the numbers on the screen, if we don't look at structural factors in history, the DR, man, I'm telling you, look at the DR, okay? And study the history of the DR and study the degree to which the United States extracted so much wealth out of the DR and impoverished and immiserated the DR. Okay? Your ancestral homeland. Okay? If you study that, you say, oh, God, these Dominicans here, yeah, you got to get your life together and stuff, but man, you start understanding these numbers. I have another one for it. All right, listen. As a European who was, Portuguese were very much part of the slave trade, right? When slavery ended, and in Brazil it ended a little later, right? But when slavery was over, what do you think happened to slaves?
First, when the slavery ended, Brazil was also part of Portugal, but was like a little bit independent.
Yeah, Brazil received more slaves from Africa than any other nation.
Yeah,
thanks to the Portuguese, by the way.
And also, Portugal was one of the first countries to accept everyone. We didn't have the difference we had, but not that much like here in America between
okay.
whites and black people.
Yeah, you do.
So we,
But here, no, just answer this. Slavery's over.
yeah,
Okay? Slavery ends. What happened to the slaves? What'd they do?
they don't know what to do. So
Well,
some of them didn't want what to do.
were they
uh,
given full right? One day you're a slave. Bro, here. One day you're a slave. Look at Lara here, right? Her ancestors. Because she has black blood, right? So you have blood that you trace to slavery. And the DR was like Haiti. Okay? One day, her ancestors say like, okay, you were a slave today, you're not a slave tomorrow. Okay, great. Or you were a slave yesterday, you're not a slave today. All right? What'd they do? Did they have land? Did they automatically just, oh, okay, great, we have land?
Yeah, they don't have anything.
Okay, they had no land. Do you think, did the people who were running the country, ruling the country, did they give them equal power?
No, they didn't care at all.
Okay, they didn't give them equal rights, so they
Yeah.
didn't do that. It wasn't like one day, like, hey, like, Aryan right here. One day he's the lowest of the low. In fact, I can own this guy, or he owns me, let's say. I'm the lowest of the low. And the next day he finds out, oh, I can't do that. I can't own this guy anymore. He's not me. So, all right, dude. And then we shake hands. We're like, hey, sorry, you apologize to me. Tell me you're sorry. You're sorry for everything you put me through.
I'm really sorry.
Got you. So you're going to now split all your wealth with me and all. None of that. Didn't happen. So is it, with that in mind, Alphonse, is it surprising that black people are where they are compared to white people?
No, it doesn't surprise me, but I think it's important to see that since the slavery ended, black people improved a lot and are keeping improving.
Yeah.
And also, this was way before. One thing that I want to say that most of the black people, the problem is like the education that they have at home, and that's why some of them drop off out school because they don't have education at home. Some of them need to work for their parents.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest problems.
Well, it's a big problem with white people, with everybody. That's a problem with people who are poorer. Now, it's not so we're looking at the collective group, okay, the group. So here, listen to this. We're not interested in individual people, okay? This is where sociology comes in. So at the individual level, you're here by yourself, right? You came here by yourself?
Yeah.
So you got to make it, it's really up to you. You got to like move forward and if you're going to be a success, you got to make it happen, right? Same with these other three people. Like individually, they have to make a success, okay? You're responsible for that. And if you don't, it's like, well, who's responsible if you drop out of Penn State? Who's responsible?
I'm responsible.
Okay, who's responsible if you drop out of Penn State?
Me.
Okay, same with the two of you?
Yeah.
Okay, who's responsible for these numbers up here?
Doesn't that just go back to half of it being structural and half of it
Dude.
being personal choice?
She got 2 high fives. Look at that. Dude, it's both. Every person, every white person, every Asian person, multi-ethnic, black, Hispanic, every person who ever lived is responsible at some level. Okay? But man, you don't understand it if you don't see the history. You can't understand those numbers. You can't. You can't understand it at all. That's why, for example, hey, Jamie, say it again. So you can't understand these kinds of global numbers if you don't understand what creates them. And most people don't, and so many people don't want to because it's too complicated. And this is why you have black people, for example. Do you notice this? As an Indian guy? Do you notice that black people are always talking about history, and you gotta study history, you gotta understand history, right? Do you notice
Yeah,
that?
sometimes.
It seems like it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Does that seem like it? Does it seem like it to you, to you guys? Seem like it to you? Okay. Same with you?
In terms of history,
Dude, here's the deal. In history, some people think history is irrelevant, right? It only matters, because like we're going to start here. We're going to start right here, okay? But look, go back to miracle of compound interest. Can you go back to that slide? Look, here's the thing. Dude, it's fundamentally about behavior, okay? It's about decisions that people make. But we make our decisions in the context of our history and structural factors and forces. So this is a very simple thing. And I'm not going to, look, I'm saying this as a white guy who firmly believes. Here, hang on. Can I speak in the... Okay. So, people on the stream, I'm speaking to a couple of you who think that history is not important, okay? Slavery ends. I'm just going to stick with this one because we can go with the DR, okay? All these white families and white institutions get a massive head start, are accumulating wealth, accumulating power, accumulating so much. They have so many advantages that have been put forward to them, okay? And then one day we say, okay, we're just going to start here. We're going to go right here, okay? And this is going to be the starting line, but it's not the starting line, right? So here, bro, can you just stand up really fast? No, wait, no, hang on a second, hang on. Can you stand up, actually? I'm going to have her stand up. Okay? So here's where you were, here, okay? But you decide as a, what's your ancestry again?
Black Jamaican. Yeah.
Black Dominican?
No, Jamaican.
Jamaican? Yeah, that's right. Okay. So you decide, yeah, but you're the contextual, you're going to work really hard. And so you climb the ladder of upward mobility, right? And so you're like, okay, here we go. You ready? Okay, stop. All right? And so you want to work hard. And you want to, and your behavior matters, and you're like, yep, I'm going to really do this, and I'm going to work hard, okay? But go back down there again. All right, so here we go. So she's going to climb the ladder of upward mobility, and she has decided that, yeah, I'm African American. It's not just her. This is her entire people. This is all of her people right here. Okay. So go back to the one slide. So this is like, go back. Yeah, right. No, the one with the same slide, but with the number. Oh no, with the question marks. That was it. Back. Yeah, right there. Okay. So you all of your people, you decide that. Okay, you're gonna go. But here's the deal. Hang on. But I've created a system where I'm here. Okay? Got it? I've created the system that I'm right here. I control the power. And there are people in my group who are actually just as poor as the people in her group. But nonetheless, and there are a few people in her group that really are more or less equal to me, but on average, okay? So I'm here. And I say like, okay, so listen, now, it's all about your attitude, okay? And you're going to be like, wait, which? Okay, Noor, it's about Noor, it's attitude, man. And Noor's going to do it, okay? Got it? Laura, you're going to do it, okay? Here, Laura, you come over here also. And we're going to put you like right here, because you're a little bit, okay? Got it? Okay, right there. So two of you, it's all about your attitude. You're going to go for it. You're going to get it, right? Okay, well, here we go. Well, I'm starting here, okay? So you guys work really hard. Go ahead, move up the ladder of upward mobility, okay? Okay, stop. Did they catch up to me?
No.
Why not?
Because they started behind you.
Because miracle of compound interest, right? It's pretty simple. Like I set the rules up. I got an advantage. I'm here. I'm going to continue to set the rules up. The civil rights movement didn't even happen until the mid-'60s, the early 60s. So, okay, but you guys, it's about attitude. Okay, got it? So can you go back to the structural versus personal? Right there. Listen, y'all. You can't change the structure and the history, okay? You can't change that. All you can change is your attitude. So you just keep going for it, okay? Which is cool, right? Hang on. All right. So now we got here. Okay, you ready? Dude, are you rooting for them? You want them to catch up to me, right? Because this is what it's about. This is about inequality. We want them to catch up, right? This is fair. This is what it is. Okay, you ready? So go ahead and climb. Okay, stop. I kept climbing. No matter what they do, I'm going to keep climbing. And you know what people say a lot? You know what they're talking about? Okay, and we're going to put a couple questions up from the chat. What they're saying is, when the two of them, and this is happening right now in the chat because I'm getting wind of it in my ear. When the two of them, here, we can come back down here. Okay. So hang on, don't put it up yet though. What I'm teaching you right now is, listen, it's important for you to be wherever you are and to just do everything you can. It's all about your attitude. But if you're aware of structure and sociology and history, you're also going to say, hey, listen, Laura, this Dominican young woman, I got my eyes on the prize, right? But you know what? Some of you all who got a head start, and who are telling me, Laura, that I'm equal to you, but you got a head start? It's like, we got to look at that. Can we look at that? And so when she points that out, we think, as many people do, who orient a little more conservatives, they think that what Laura is saying is like, hey, stop complaining. Stop trying to blame something else. Stop not taking responsibility. Stop undermining yourself. Because, on the end, you're going to undermine yourself. But what Laura might be saying, what you're going to say, because I want you to study this a little bit, is, no, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do it. But those of you who got the advantage, you also need to think about the fact that you got an advantage. Why don't you see that? Like, listen, Ella, how much an advantage do you have that no one in your school smoked crack, dropped out? Do you see that as an advantage for you?
Yeah.
You didn't before today though, right?
No.
But it's totally an advantage. What do you think she'd be if half the students in her graduating class dropped out? What do you think, who would she be if everyone was doing like meth and smoking weed? And what's it mean for her? She can still, you still have the power to say no to all that, right? But we're creatures of our sociological surroundings. You're gonna be, just like you, bro. All your friends, when you're in high school, are they all in college? How many?
Yeah, mostly.
Mostly in college. Wait, hang on. Mostly in college?
Yeah,
Do you see that as an advantage for you?
kind of, yeah.
Dude, it hugely is.
It is.
What if you were born in a poor community and outside of Hyderabad, a little community, and you dreamed of going to college? Would you be here?
Not at all.
Okay, but you dreamed it. You really dreamed it. You did everything in your power to do it, make it happen.
Yes.
Would you be? What's the likelihood you'd be here?
Nil.
Not very. Huh. All right. Hey, can we go to the question? Is there a question from the stream? Okay, multiple people on YouTube chat. Does compound interest matter since most people will lose their generational wealth by the third generation? Yeah. No, hang on. Yes, it absolutely. Hey, look, it's not just compound interest and it's not just wealth. Oh, damn, class is almost over. It's not just compound interest and wealth. It's all the things that go together. Okay? All right, listen, can you put the hey, can we have a applause for you all? All right.